Well, good afternoon. As somebody once famously said, let's get these done real quick once. As you know, during the week, I shared with you a couple of videos. In the first one, I presented this document, which I will present in a slightly different format today because I have my slides ready. So just to recap, as you will recall, some people in Wisconsin and Manitowoc in particular are unhappy that the hugely popular Netflix documentary, Making a Murderer, which celebrated its 5th birthday 2 days ago, has made them look bad. Interest in the plights of Teresa Halbach, Steven Avery and Brendan Dassey has grown since the documentary was first released. But if Steven and Brendan, have I missed one? No, sorry, skipped one. But if Steven and Brendan really are the cold-hearted killers that the state say they are, then there's a very simple way of proving that. One which would not even cost them, the state, anything. Simply stop procrastinating and give Kathleen Zellner all the evidence for her experts to test at zero cost to the state. She has always maintained that if a client of hers is guilty, they daren't hire her, as she will find the truth. So why do they continue to deny her access to all the evidence, thus perpetuating the grief of the Halbachs? They gave her several items, most notably the bullet, which was discovered to have wood, and obviously no bone, embedded in it. The hood latch swab that had 90 times more DNA on it than it should have, and the key that had 20 times more DNA on it than it should. And a CD of a report on the computer which was kept in Bobby Dassey's bedroom, but which was described by Ken Kratz as belonging to Brendan and containing nothing much of evidentiary value. But of course, during Brendan's trial, the only evidence against him was his confession. So, why weren't the contents of the computer, which included sick and deranged images, used to help prosecute him? Well, because thanks to the time of the day that the images were searched and viewed, it proves that it wasn't Brendan's computer, and that whoever was using the computer when only Bobby was home should have been high on the list of suspects, having achieved the Denny third-party threshold of access, means, and motive. Now, the state have declined to offer Kathleen Zellner any more evidence to test, most notably the car with its damaged indicator and cremains that were discovered off of the Avery salvage yard. In fact, we now know that some of those remains, which were described as being only possible human, were handed back to the Halbachs as being Teresa's, in violation of Judge Willis's and the state's statute preservation orders. It all begs the question, what are the state trying to hide? Let's come back to this one. Hi everybody. And of course, we then followed that up. That was a little video that I put together based on a flyer that I made up and presented to everybody at Manitowoc at the rally last year. And yes, if anybody wants the updated one, I've got that as a PDF. I can easily send it to you in that particular format as well. So then the next day, obviously, due to the huge response I got from so many people who said, well, these are the questions that I would particularly ask of the guilters. Let me just quickly run through them. I've got them all written down here. So, top of the list. 2 separate locations for Teresa's murder. One in Steven Avery's trial, shot in the garage. But in Brendan's trial, murdered, stabbed, murdered in the trailer. Next. A lot of people pointed out about Deb Catkach, the county coroner. Why was she barred from going to the Avery salvage yard? She did not have a conflict of interest, but they told her that she did. Obviously, number 3 was the fact that there is 0 DNA of Teresa Halbach in Steve's trailer. Not even any of Teresa's DNA on the magic key. Question number 4 for guilters was, why only swab the hood latch for Steven Avery's DNA? You know, there's loads of other places under the bonnet that if you're sure that Steve has opened the bonnet, any technician would know that there's all these other places. I think Millbilly answered that question because they only took 1 swab from Steven Avery at the Aurora Medical Clinic. Question number 5, obviously, why no blood in any of the places that Steve would have touched in Teresa's car? Number 6, why no investigation whatsoever into Ryan Hilgas? Really strange one, but it goes back to question 1, I suppose. Not guilty of mutilation of a corpse, but found guilty of murder, but not mutilation of, in other words, not guilty of burning Teresa in his bonfire, in his burn pit. And it really does beg a belief, that, doesn't it, that there was no mistrial as a result of that. A bit like, you know, what sort of checks and balances are in place to ensure that you cannot have a victim murdered in 2 different locations in 2 separate trials. Obviously, the number 8, no photos of the crime scene whatsoever. And as you know, my pet hate in particular is this absurd comment in response to a question, how are you doing, Mike? You know, the grieving process could last days. So anyway, as you know, we are blessed with, on the opposite side of the fence to us, some highly intelligent, very articulate and clever people with regard to the guilters. And so what I've done is I've collated their answers to all of these questions, not just from the recent videos that I did, the second one, as I say, with Millbilly, but looking back at the answers that I've received to all of these questions over the years. I think I should share that with you now. So here is the much awaited document where, as I say, I've collated everything that the guilters have had to say about all of these issues. There we go. Here we go. Here are the answers. It runs to 6 pages, but here are all the answers. Here are all the answers. This is several years of answers to the questions that we have raised. Here's page 1, page 2, page 3, oh, page 4, page 5, page 6. Those are the brilliant responses that I have received to all of these questions. Now, if you wanted comments about the fact that somebody from Scotland who's got a beard, who's a little bit overweight and is in his 50s, you'll get plenty of comments about that. Plenty, I can assure you. I've got loads and loads of them. But when it comes to any sensible answer to any of those questions, let me just remind you, let me just show you that one again. Let me just show you that. Guilters, I hope you're paying attention. These are all your answers collated into one single document so that you can go away and think about what on earth you are playing at. These are all the answers to all of the questions. These are the answers that I have received. As I say, when it comes to trying to create, personal attacks and trying to deflect from the issue, I must admit, we shouldn't be surprised at the caliber of those answers when you consider the caliber of person we are dealing with when it comes to guilters. They have absolutely nothing to offer. They've nothing to offer with regards to finding out the truth as to what happened to Teresa. Nothing at all to offer towards trying to make sure that two innocent people are not convicted. They really are a complete waste of space. And this exercise over the last few days, I've had replies from guilters, as I say, not a single response to any of those questions, not even an attempt. I think I had one about the fact that, Mike Holbach, it was just a slip of the tongue. Fine. It needs to be investigated. It needs to be found out, why did he use the term grieving process? And don't give me any of this nonsense about, family members, it was just a slip of the tongue. Family members are the first ones, are the last ones, in fact, to accept that anything could have happened. He slipped up, he realized it, he corrected himself at the end, by saying the grieving process could last days, weeks, years, and then he carries on, hopefully with Teresa still in our lives. But probably that's one that I feel most grievous about, most annoyed about, because there was, it's one thing to say that, but it's another thing to actually, to not investigate. You're dead right, Bob. That was the extent of the answers that I got to those important questions. The answers I got to those important questions amounted to, let me just remind everybody, these are the responses that I've received from the likes of Woody and Charles over the questions that we have. Sit back and enjoy. Here's page 1, brilliantly articulated by brilliant people who know they know this case inside and out and will tie us in knots over Steven Avery and Brendan Dassey's guilt. These are the answers I have received to all of those questions. Sit back and enjoy. Isn't that absolutely brilliant? Absolutely amazing. Maybe we shouldn't be amazed. Maybe we should just realize that they have a vested interest in other outcomes in this case. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed today's presentation, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.